A $50 million bounty on Nicolás Maduro's head, a figure that surpasses even the reward offered for Osama bin Laden. What does it truly mean to place such a price on a sitting president? In Caracas, Nicolás Maduro speaks with a clenched fist, attempting to project strength, but fear permeates the streets. Meanwhile, in the Caribbean, three massive Arleigh Burke-class steel destroyers advance slowly but relentlessly toward the Venezuelan coast. Their radars spin like restless eyes, tracking every reflection on the horizon. They are not alone. Trailing them, the Ibima amphibious group deploys helicopters, heavily armed marines, submarines, amphibious ships, and P-8 Poseidon aircraft, which patrol the skies like silent predators. The official justification is to combat drug trafficking, but Washington directly accuses Maduro's inner circle of leading the cartel of the Suns, placing a bounty on his capture and making the president himself the most wanted target in the region. In Venezuela, the response is immediate. Militiamen are mobilized, trucks loaded with rifles roll out, and orders crackle over radios with intense urgency. But the question remains, what would happen if the destroyers and the U.S. strike group clash with the Venezuelan army and the cartels buckle up? As we analyze the hidden strategies of both sides and the potential paths to conflict. In the Caribbean, a U.S. fleet is deployed like chess pieces poised for checkmate. Each ship represents a calculated move. Each radar scans the horizon, and each propeller heightens the tension in these volatile waters. For the United States, the strategy is clear. Project overwhelming power and push to the limit. Constant surveillance from the skies, surgical strikes, when necessary, rapid landings capable of breaching defenses in minutes, and a maritime blockade that strangles the cartels, their roots, and the regime's lifelines. The destroyers form the backbone, equipped with an invisible armor of radars and missiles. Designed to intercept threats from the air, sea, or subsurface, they also hold a trump card, the ability to launch precision cruise missiles that could strike strategic targets deep within Venezuela in mere minutes, from command centers to military depots. Though the destroyers may not move quickly, every antenna, radar, and launch tube is alert and aimed. Their mission is not to conquer cities or plant flags, but to observe, protect, and strike with surgical precision. These ships maintain a constant state of readiness, prepared to intercept any missile or aircraft crossing a hostile sky. At sea level, they activate anti-submarine systems with sonars piercing the liquid darkness to detect any metallic trace hunting Venezuelan submarines before they can even take aim. In surface combat, the destroyers are lethal. If fast boats or patrol vessels attempt to break a blockade, the Mark 45 cannons, positioned like iron guardians, respond with a sharp, devastating roar. If that's not enough, the Phalanx system's automatic cannons, firing thousands of rounds per minute, turn the air into an impenetrable wall of fire. Below deck, the numbers tell the story: around 90 missiles ready to launch from vertical tubes capable of striking targets at sea or on land. Harpoon missiles target enemy ships, torpedoes counter-submerged threats, and as if that weren't enough, Seahawk anti-submarine helicopters equipped with sonar and torpedoes take off from the deck, patrolling the horizon like aerial predators. But amidst this formidable power, there is a weakness. These steel giants are designed to destroy and defend, not to invade. They cannot seize cities or control territories. Their strength lies in clearing a path, maintaining pressure, and securing the route. So how do you invade a country from the sea? The answer lies not in cannons or missiles, but in amphibious assault ships. At first glance, they resemble miniature aircraft carriers, but their purpose is distinct. On their decks, rotors spin like steel blades. MV-22 Osprey and F-35B Lightning helicopters await orders to launch. Below, in their metal bows, landing crafts stand ready to charge the coast. Inside these colossi travel thousands of Marines, men and women trained to penetrate where others cannot, transforming a peaceful beach into a battlefield in minutes. Their specialty is not peacekeeping, but breaking the peace with surgical precision, capturing an airport in hours, severing a regime's communications, or seizing strategic positions before the enemy can react. These Marines undergo brutal training, mastering navigation through jungles, cities, and ports. They can turn a building into a fortress or an alley into an ambush. If given the order, their objectives would be clear strike, cartel strongholds, destroy government command centers, and seize critical infrastructure along Venezuela's coast. Every ramp that lowers, every rotor that spins, serves as a reminder that these vessels are not just ships. They are floating gateways to land warfare. Beneath the Caribbean's surface, where the water turns black and sound fades, lurks the fleet's quietest and most fearsome weapon, the radar-invisible nuclear attack submarine gliding like a patient predator along Venezuelan shipping lanes. Its primary mission is not to fire, but to listen, intercepting communications, monitoring the local Navy's movements, and registering every mechanical noise like footprints in the sand. From that darkness, the submarine can launch an unexpected strike. Tomahawk cruise missiles with a range exceeding 1,000 miles can pierce the sky and destroy command centers' air defenses or military installations deep within Venezuelan territory before anyone detects its presence. But its power extends beyond that. Its mere existence is a warning. Any foreign naval reinforcement, Russian, Iranian, or allied with Caracas, knows that entering these waters is like playing Russian roulette. High above P-8 Poseidon aircraft, maintain relentless surveillance, flying low with radars and sensors that scan both sea and land. They locate defense systems, track military drones, and trace clandestine drug trafficking routes. From their vantage point, they mark targets and transmit coordinates, ensuring missiles or torpedoes hit with pinpoint accuracy. They don't just observe, they disrupt enemy communications, jamming orders and blinding radars, leaving the regime silent when it most needs to speak. Though a submarine may be invisible, it is not invulnerable. Its true power emerges when it unleashes its most feared predator, the torpedo. The scene begins in silence. A hatch opens, and like a coiled spring, the metal projectile slips into the water. At first, it seems inert, but within seconds, it awakens. Its engine roars beneath the sea propellers, driving it forward, leaving an invisible wake traceable only by sonar. From inside the submarine, a thin data thread maintains a connection, guiding the hunter towards its prey like an invisible leash. But at the critical moment, that link is severed. The torpedo is free, relying on its own sonic senses, tracking echoes, following vibrations, and homing in on the metallic pulse of an enemy ship. Traveling at around 60 kilometers per hour underwater, with a range of up to 12 kilometers, it may not rival a fighter jet's speed, but in the dense, opaque ocean, it is devastating, a projectile unseen and unheard, until it's too late. The impact is catastrophic, with an explosive warhead equivalent to over 540 kilograms of TNT, capable of tearing open a ship's steel hull and sinking it in minutes. The torpedo can circle back and resume the hunt like a shark, relentless until it draws blood. And that's not the worst of it. Engineers are developing next-generation supercavitating torpedoes, which wrap themselves in an air bubble to glide underwater at unprecedented speeds, too fast to evade, too silent to anticipate. But how can a smaller, less technologically advanced country with fewer resources confront the world's greatest naval power? Venezuela's answer lies not in technological superiority, but in hybrid resistance, a blend of regular army militias and even cartels. In theory, the numbers are staggering. 4.5 million mobilized militiamen, armed civilians hastily trained to defend the regime. They lack aircraft carriers or nuclear submarines, but they possess something the U.S. cannot buy: intimate knowledge of the terrain. Every hill, river, and alley is a potential weapon. On the coast, the strategy is to corner invaders before they reach land. Naval patrols monitor with speedboats, anti-ship missiles lie hidden in makeshift hangars, and anti-aircraft batteries scan the Caribbean sky, ready to target helicopters or planes that venture too close. The game isn't purely military. The drug cartels, deeply entwined with sectors of power, provide another layer of defense. Their clandestine routes, high-speed boats, and informant networks transform drug trafficking into a parallel army capable of confounding U.S. intelligence with asymmetric tactics. They blend among civilian ships, divert cargo through irregular routes, and conceal arsenals in dense jungles. Thus, the most likely scenario is not a direct battle, but a fragmented war. The U.S. would maintain air surveillance with drones and P-8 Poseidons blockade coasts and strike with submarines and precision missiles to erode response capabilities. Meanwhile, Venezuela would aim to prolong the conflict, resisting in cities, wearing down assault forces, and using militias and urban guerrillas to turn landings into ambushes. It's an uneven clash: technology versus numbers, precision versus resilience, satellites versus jungles. But the chessboard isn't complete without an external player that always moves silently: Russia. Indeed, Russia doesn't need to deploy aircraft carriers or entire divisions to make its presence felt. A wooden crate marked with Cyrillic letters delivered by a freighter at a guarded port at dawn is enough. Inside those crates lie the new ghosts of the battlefield, long-range drones capable of flying hundreds of kilometers or loitering for hours and striking at the precise moment. These aren't stealth bombers, but silent, cheap, and hard-to-track swarms with disproportionate destructive power. For Venezuela, they offer the ability to hit where it hurts most: an airstrip in Curaçao or a Marine forward command post. With an explosive payload of just a few dozen kilograms, these drones can paralyze entire operations. The U.S. Navy, however, doesn't rely on a single ship, but deploys an entire strike group. Within this formation, three key pieces stand out: the frigate, the destroyer, and the cruiser. What distinguishes each, and what is their true role on the battlefield? The frigate is the smallest, least armed, and least armored, but agile and versatile, moving first to patrol and serve as the fleet's eyes and ears. The cruiser, by contrast, is the fortress larger than a destroyer with space for command and control systems. If the strike group were a medieval army, the cruiser would be the castle protecting, coordinating, and enduring. In the middle is the destroyer, the crown jewel. At 153 meters long and 18 meters wide, its sleek profile cuts through the ocean like a blade. Picture 6 tennis courts aligned side by side. That's the length of a destroyer's deck. Though dwarfed by an aircraft carrier, each displaces around 9,000 tons, equivalent to 900 school buses. When the group forms, the image is almost poetic: ships aligned in a steel ballet, each covering the other's blind spots. In a real combat scenario, destroyers anticipate that the first threats won't always be missiles or hypersonics, but something simpler and harder to stop: swarms of drones and explosive-laden speedboats. The initial response is pure artillery. The 127-millimeter gun at the ship's bow, far from a museum relic, can fire projectiles nearly 15 miles, targeting objects barely visible on radar. Its firing rate is relentless, 10 to 16 rounds per minute, ejecting burning shells that rain shrapnel on the deck. For smaller, faster targets, the CRAM system takes over, combining radar and electro-optical sensors to detect threats instantly. From its rotating turret, it unleashes a swarm of RAM-116 missiles designed to chase targets like instinct-driven arrows. Even if an enemy skims the ocean to evade radar, the missile's infrared seeker locks onto the target's heat and pursues relentlessly. The effectiveness is chilling. Anything within a 10-kilometer radius faces a 90% chance of destruction. But the ultimate question remains: are we truly on the brink of war in Venezuela? For now, the answer seems to be no. An all-out invasion would be a strategic misstep for the U.S., too close to home against a regime with millions of militiamen ready to resist, and the risk of appearing as the aggressor to all of Latin America. It would also clash with Trump's rhetoric of avoiding new wars. The more logical approach is indirect dismantle. The cartel of the Suns cripple the economy with sanctions and use naval and air blockades to choke trade, with destroyers looming as a constant shadow off the coast. Rather than occupying Venezuela, the goal would be to sow internal divisions, encourage a faction of Chavismo to betray Maduro, and perhaps trigger a coup from within. Maduro, aware of this, has fortified his circle of loyalists and projects defiance. While it's hard to imagine Venezuela striking first, the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers alone could devastate much of its defenses. Thus, although all-out war seems unlikely, the tension is a knife's edge. One mistake, a stray shot, or a miscalculation could ignite everything.